What's good, motherfuckers? Welcome to the Danny B debate. After the success of the last podcast, although if you can call it success, it's a matter of perspective, I suppose, I've been asked to answer some questions, to give my own Danny Topian. We'll stick with Danny Bean. My Danny Bean perspective on some issues, some questions, so we'll get into that. So, it's going to be impossible to talk about any kind of economic issues without first talking about socialism. Now, socialism, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, is a political and economic theory of social organisation which advocates the means of production, distribution and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Now, that makes no fucking sense to anyone. So what it essentially means is, say an example, Countdown. Now, Countdown was started by a guy who opens up a company, he makes lots of money, the company gets bigger, he hires more people, blah 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 blah, he pays taxes to the local government, and then they use that taxes to fund public services, hospitals, so on and so forth. What socialism is instead of this kind of system, Countdown is straight up owned by the government. You work for the government when you work for Countdown, the profits and all of the money goes straight back into the government, and they use that for other things. And they'd own every single company in New Zealand, pretty much. That's how it would work. There's no private enterprise. If there is a service or a business to be had, then the government will run it and control it, and you work for the government when you work in that company. And that is about the most terrible explanation of socialism you're ever going to get. It's more communist, I would say, the explanation that I gave. So jump on Wikipedia or Google, look it up, get some info, go on YouTube, look up another video explaining just what socialism is, and then come back once you've got that. We can take it from there. So the idea of a living wage, the idea that the government decides this is how much you need to live, and everyone's going to get paid it, even if you have the most dumb generic job in the world. You're all going to get paid this much money so you can all survive. And there's arguments for and against. The four arguments is that when poor people get money, they spend it, and this is true. Like, you're never going to have enough money to upgrade your living conditions. Like, you're not going to have enough money to go get a better house, but you could get a bigger TV. You could go get some nice rims on your car, whatever. It's instant gratification that you can afford, so people will do it. So thus, the argument is that you stimulate the economy because people are spending more money, you create more jobs, it's good for everyone. The supposed negative of a living wage is that it devalues work, as in, and I agree. This is my take on it. Don't take this as the Bible, although again, the Bible, that's a whole another podcast, right? I just saw my nostrils. Oh my god, it's terrible. So what do I mean by it destroys the initiative to work? Well, that's probably a bad way to put it. It's more, say you're I used to be a baker. So say you're a baker earning $20 an hour, and the work's shit and hours are shit, and you have to study for a little bit, year and a half to get your qualification to be a baker. And you get $20 an hour, and say there's someone who's pushing trolleys at Countdown to go back. Sorry, Countdown, by the way. I hope you don't rip on me for this. In fact, it's any marketing is good marketing. Any publicity is good publicity. So pay me some fucking money, you cheap cunts. So that trolley pusher who currently gets $15 an hour makes the same amount of money as the baker. Then why is that baker going to fucking bother? Why do you still want that job unless you can't find another job, but you can? Why are you going to want to work those hours when you can get the same money to push trolleys casually on a fucking Saturday afternoon instead of getting up at 2 o'clock in the fucking morning and going to work? So that's a big negative of it. And the other supposed negative downside, and there's debate among economists from this, and you can look at where it's actually been implemented in the States, and it doesn't quite work out to be true, although it's small scale. But anyway, the argument is that employers who are already tight-fisted enough with their coin as it is, or Jewish as some might say, take offence to that if you want, I don't give a fuck, nigga. If employers are already under enough pressure to save money, and you up the minimum wage, which are already like disposable workers anyway, to a living wage, then it's going to put pressure on them to do more with less, as in have less staff because you don't have the money to waste on staff anymore, or that you'll have to raise prices to cover the new costs of paying wages, which will drive money up, which will create inflation, blah, 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 blah. Although I don't know if those arguments really stand, but again, I'm not going to waste my time discussing standard arguments. I'm going to give my own trippy spin on this and think about it in ways that people normally don't. And the way that I would is by saying that we're all already fucked anyway. What I mean by that is the elephant in the room, the bull in the china shop, if you will, which is automation, bitches. We're all getting fucking robots, motherfuckers. Like, you can see it at Countdown. Again, Countdown, I'm sorry. Okay, you even see it at supermarkets, like the self-check-in aisles, right? 15 years ago, that was a job. That was a 40-hour-a-week job for several people, you know, to bang that shit out. And it will slowly take over until there's like one person there to manage the machines that does it. You've just destroyed 10 incomes. Now, is it going to take those same 10 people? Can they go reskill and be automated machine chickens? No, maybe one, maybe two. You know, they might find other things they can do, but you know, like, forget the fucking living wage. What are we going to do when all of these jobs have been destroyed by increasingly better machines? You know, then what? Then we're going to have a universal wage, and then how does that get paid for? I mean, this is the problem that we have, is that the issues that we're coming up on, no one looks at it in the big picture. It's the next 4 years, and that's an election cycle problem, because, you know, it's pretty hard to campaign. Say you're a political party, you can't really turn around and say to people, well, you know, we're gonna look at ways of implementing universal wage, because in 10 years 30% of you are going to be out of jobs. Everyone's going to be, bro, I don't fucking care if the other guy's like, oh, I'll give you a tax cut in the next 4 years. Fuck, you know. That's the problem of democracy, and that politics and economics, and that's how it's all intertwined together, and that's how we get fucked. So in terms of a living wage, I don't really care. If you want to get paid more money, find a better fucking job. You know, it's not the government's job to fix everything for you. You know, there's plenty of opportunities out there. What I am interested in is, what are we going to do when 40% of our available jobs are taken up by automation? You know, it's what happened to horses? You know, horses were everywhere. They were doing everything for us. Then we invented cars. All those horses went out into a paddock, and now we just ride them for fun. Like, what are we going to do with 40, 50, 60% of the population as automation and AI gets better and better and better? We'll lose more and more jobs. Are we going to put them out in the field and ride them for fun? I'm all for that. Now, I have talked about this before. I personally think it's bullshit, and so do a lot of economists, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. I don't know anyone that works with a guy, well, I don't know any guy or girl that works with someone of the opposite gender that knows that that person gets paid more or less than them. And if they do, it's because they've been with the company longer, or they're in a higher position. So I personally think it's bullshit, because if you found that out, you just take them to court and sue them. Do it anywhere. Or, you know, claims or whatever, depends on the country, but there's a legislative process for if you're getting fucked because of your gender or race or ethnicity in any developed Western civilized country, you're going to get compensated for that. You can't do it to people, so it doesn't make sense to me that it would. But let's just say that it did. Okay? Let's just say that this gender wage thing is true. First of all, the statistics are skewed. You know, if you're asking, does this person that works in the same company, at the same age, same entry experience, same everything, right? Are they getting paid the same amount for the same amount of hours worked, same amount of overtime, same days, etc., etc., etc.? Are they getting paid the same? The answer would be yes. The reason that you get a gender wage gap is you get all of the money earned by every woman in a country, right? And then all of the money earned by every man in the country, and you compare them against each other. And of course you're going to get differences, you know, because men will work more than women, because women end up being mothers and doing more shit with their kids. And you can argue whether or not that's the way it should be, but it's the way that it is. And so the amount of money earned is reflected in that. So to try and turn it around and you make 72 cents on the dollar is bullshit. Now, that's not the question I was asked. The question I was asked is, should there be a difference? And I would argue, yes, To which you may turn around, you misogynistic bastard. But hey, give me a minute. First of all, one day I would like to have children, and I have friends that have daughters, lots of friends. They all breed these days. It's cray to the day. And I don't want them to grow up with any inherent disadvantages because of their gender than anyone else, or any inherent disadvantages because of anything other than their ability. So I don't think women should be paid less than men off the bat. That's fucked up. That's not the values we should have as a society. Fuck, that was a mouthful. However, say you are working in something like stocks. Like say you're like a stock market person. Should men get paid more than women because they're more aggressive, they have more initiative, they have more leadership? To which feminists will turn around and say, you misogynistic cunt, again. But it's biology, boys and girls. It's the hormones that we have in us drive us to be certain ways. Should a woman get paid more to be a nurse? I would say yes, because nurses, not only is their like job actually like practical, we're going to sew this thing up and pull bullets out of here or whatever, it's nurturing, it's making people feel comfortable and nurtured and taken care of and okay. So, depending on the role, if men and women are more suited to it, they should get paid more. I mean, the best bang for your buck in the job is what you should get. I've had a conversation with a woman about this before, a woman who I've mentioned before, an astrobiologist. She's smart girl. And we reached a concession because in any civilized society it's all about concessions. It's not about forcing your view on someone else, it's about where can we compromise enough to make this work. That's why America's fucked these days, because they've forgotten how to compromise. The best compromises you can get is that everyone starts off on the same wage, or like, I don't mean universally, but say like everyone who starts at Danny B's stock investment company gets the same wage, and if it turns out that the man is more aggressive and better at his job, then he should get paid more. Because equally, you have to anticipate that people will always surprise you. Like you'll find men that are more nurturing than women, and you'll find women that are more aggressive than men. They do exist, but you can't account for that in a universality. So I think that's a good compromise. Everyone in the company gets paid the same, but within a week the man can get paid more if he's better at it, or the chick, and if they're better at it because they're a man and because of the hormonal advantages that brings, well then that's just it. If you don't like it, get in a field that suits you more. If you are just as good as him and you're not getting paid as much, take the cunt to court. Problem solved. So, in summary, the living wage, the gender wage gap, wage anything, is all bullshit. It's all short-term political gain. I'm going to raise this issue, which is antagonistic and blah 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 blah, to get votes. They're not real problems, boys and girls. I don't think they are. I'd say things like automation are a way bigger problem than where our job market is going. Because we can't all be IT specialists. You can't get 6 billion IT specialists on the planet. So, in my opinion of socialism, if I defined it better so you understood what I was talking about better, it's terrible. It destroys incentive. I mean, the strongest driver for humans is their own success. So, to mitigate your ability to succeed to help everyone else is fucking stupid, because not everyone is equal. Not all beings are created equal. It's just the way of the world, and trying to fix that in the name of social justice is fucking stupid, and it's selfish. It's much better to leave people to their own devices and see what they can pull off than trying to fix everything for them, because all societies have an inherent level of socialism. If we didn't, then we wouldn't have things like mental health services, because there's not money in mental health, to which you may reply, yes, but I have an uncle with autism and I'd pay a lot of money to have him taken care of. Yeah, but what happens if he doesn't have family? Then who takes care of him then? In New Zealand we have a mental health program that helps people. Say in America they don't, they just end up in prison, which are again being privatised. So that's an argument of government service versus privatisation. Which is a decent argument to have, but not. Although it is an argument that I can't be fucked having. But essentially, socialism will always exist because there will always be things that people need that there's not really money in, like mental health, prisons, blah 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 blah. And the attempts to privatise them, I would say, are stupid, because you can't make money out of something that there isn't money in it. If you try and do that, you're making something evil. You're ripping people off. You're taking advantage of people. you're making an incentive to put people in prison because you get paid if people go to prison, because you're running a company that provides beds to prisoners. So that's a dumb idea. Society should be split between socialism and capitalism, or to put it more correctly, capitalism with socialist tinges to it. And anyone that wants to argue otherwise is a fucking idiot. What I will say about economics is I personally don't find it very interesting, and there's things I'd much rather be talking about, the geopolitics and gender and society in general, but I would say the important thing with economics is that it does need outside input, because the economists that we have are running off the same system that we've had for 100 plus years. There's this idea called Malthusian thought, which essentially means that there's a limited amount of shit in the world, so thus the value of shit is always going to go up because there'll be less shit, but more people to use the shit. That's essentially how our system works. But things like 3D printing and hydroponics, the hydros, have changed the mechanism. So the problem that I would say with these kind of economic systems that we currently use is that the thought is tied to systems that no longer exist, and that they're more technocratic than anything else, as in they're taught a way of doing things, and this is the way that you do things, and if it doesn't work you don't know what to do, instead of an open-minded approach to it that people had 100 plus years ago or whatever. You know, the same systems that had stock market crashes in the 20s, and then in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and then the 2000s, the cycle seemed to be getting faster for whatever reason. We're still using the same system, and it's clearly not fucking working, so outside input is needed, but I'd definitely say do a bit of research first. You know, don't just use your little social justice warrior badge and your fucking 3-year fucking environmentalist study fucking degree to comment on something as complex as an economic system. See you. Hope you learned something. Hope you like, subscribe, all that other crap that you're supposed to do on YouTube. I don't know, I don't really understand technology. I'm a fucking dinosaur. And you give me something interesting to talk about, you know, because I ain't really feeling this. See you. Stay